Japan bombed Pearl Harbor on the 7th of December in 1941, leading the Americans to harbor for the Japanese and to start preparing the bomb to Hiroshima. Robert Oppenheimer tested the first nuclear bomb on July 16th of 1945. The test was successful, ushering in the nuclear age. And just 1 month later, on the 6th of August 1945, Hiroshima would be bombed.
It was all their own doing. They introduced nuclear power into this war. The Japanese knew how powerful these weapons were and chose to engage on Pearl Harbor using these weapons. The nuclear bomb is a lethal and dangerous weapon that gets its destructive force and power from the nuclear reaction within the bomb. That affected the lives of many people because they were exposed to lethal radiation. The attacks on Pearl Harbor that were led by the Japanese Navy were not justifiable. I felt it was not justifiable for the Japanese to do this, but I felt that the Americans' reply was justified and the correct thing to do. It might have changed and affected the lives of the history of Japan, but it was all in good cause. It stopped the Japanese reign and power. There were many short-term and long-term effects to the bombings. As horrific as the immediate impact was, the 2 atomic bombs left over Hiroshima and Nagasaki were especially devastating because the damage they unleashed was present for many years after. It is estimated that destruction on Hiroshima by Little Boy, the atomic bomb, could be matched by 2,100 tons of normal bombs. But what cannot be matched by the conventional bombs are the immediate effects and long-term effects, such as radiation poisoning. This is the destructive effect of nuclear warfare. The presence of leukemia among survivors increased notably after 5 to 6 years, and a decade later, survivors began suffering from thyroid, breast, lung, and other cancers at higher than normal rates. For solid cancers, the added risks related to radiation exposure which continue to increase throughout the lifespan of survivors, even to this day. Women exposed to the bombings while they were pregnant experienced higher rates of miscarriages, deaths amongst their infants, and kids were born deformed. Another effect could be the lives that were lost at war, or should I say rather during the bombings. The bombs immediately devastated their targets. The bombs killed 90 to 150,000 people in Hiroshima and 40 to 80,000 people in Nagasaki, and an estimated amount of 230,000 people lost their lives throughout the 2 cities. These were devastating attacks that should not be taken lightly and should be ones that we should learn from today.
When I was 3, the bombs were dropped. I don't remember much, but I do remember that my surroundings turned blindingly white, like a million camera flashes going off at once. Then, pitch black. When I woke, I was buried alive under the house, or so I was told. When my uncle finally found me and dragged my tiny 3-year-old body from under the house, I was unconscious and my face was misshapen. Thankfully, I survived, but after that day, mysterious scabs started forming over my body. Hearing was lost in my left ear. Years later, my mom noticed shards of glass growing out of her skin, probably from the debris years earlier. Although I have lived through this, I have lived a good life, and I hope to one day live in a world where people are kind and good to one another.
A nuclear weapon is an explosive device that derives its destructive force from nuclear reactions, either fission or more commonly known fission bomb, or from a combination of fission and fusion reactions, thermonuclear bomb. Both bomb types release large quantities of energy from relatively small amounts of matter.
I saw an aircraft like a tiny silver drop entering the sky above Hiroshima. I instantly recognized it as an American plane, as no Japanese aircraft could fly at that altitude at the time. It was just one plane, so I assumed that it was passing by as usual.
And I was counting. 1, 2, 3.
I was wiping the desktop. That was when the bomb was dropped.
It took about 45 seconds from the time the bomb left the airplane until it exploded. And I think there wasn't a man in the airplane that wasn't either timing it with his watch or counting or doing something. I was sure the bomb was a dud. I was sure it wasn't going to work.
After falling for 43 seconds, the time and barometric triggers started the firing mechanism. A uranium bullet fired down a barrel into a uranium target. Together, they started a nuclear chain reaction. Solid matter began to come apart, releasing untold quantities of energy.